Hello and welcome to the New School Leader, where we are committed to helping new and aspiring school leaders develop the skills necessary to take the next step in their leadership journey. I'm Luke Croy.
I'm Brett Phipps.
In today's show, we're going to give you 5 things that you can do right now to start the year off right as a new administrator. And if you stick around to the end, I'm going to share my favorite time-saving tip as an assistant principal. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is you got to get to know your people. I think everybody knows how important relationships are, but I don't think a lot of us have a plan for how we're going to do that once we actually get into our leadership role. There are a lot of ways to do it. Everybody's got a lot of tips on it. So Brett's going to share a couple of his ideas right now.
So what are their goals? And you have to be intentional about it. A buddy of mine used to always go after bus duty and ask somebody in his building just about their day, how their day went. And he always ended with the question, what can I do for you? How can I make your life better? I thought it was really great. Kim Scott talks about it in Radical Candor, something we're going to talk about quite a bit. She talks always about caring deeply and challenging directly. So back to the points, professionally, what do they want to do in 5 years? How are you going to help others get to where they want to be? Yeah. I think that's part of the joy of this job, is really just helping people get to the point where they want to be and who they want to be. Personally, let them take the lead here. As a first-year principal, the one thing I did was ask every teacher I had this question. What are your professional goals? What are your personal goals? And how can I help you get to where you want to be? Finally, Luke, we want to laugh with people. We want to have a good time.
Big fan.
It's a hard job, and people have to have a reason to be in your building. So that brings us to our question of the day. What is one idea that you are going to try to be intentional about with building relationships in your people?
Yeah, make sure you answer that down in the comments. Sharing is caring, right?
Sharing is caring.
If you've got a good idea, put it in there, because we're all wanting to do a better job. So.
All growing together, for sure.
For sure. So the next thing that we want to challenge everybody to do is to lead without being asked. And I think that's a huge deal. So I kind of have a story on this. A few years ago, almost 9 years ago, it's crazy.
You talk about it a lot.
Yeah, it's a big deal. I worked for a football coach. His name was Coach Frederick, and he's probably the best leader I've ever been around. And on day one of our coaches' meetings, he introduced us to what he called the Carl Frederick rule. And so Carl Frederick was his dad. And Coach Fred said that he learned really quick growing up that when Carl Frederick got home, Coach Fred better be doing something, that he better not get caught just hanging out at the house, because his dad would very quickly point out all the other things that he could have been doing, right? Like, did you not see that the yard needed to be mowed? Right. Did you not see that this thing needed to be fixed? So he just figured out really early in life that if there are things that need to be done, I'm going to go do them. He challenged us on his staff to kind of live by the Carl Frederick rule. If there's something that needs to be done, go do it. And that was super evident in the way that he led. He was always working. No job was too small, and nobody was going to outwork him. And I think that's kind of how we need to approach our work as leaders, that no job too small. We shouldn't have to be asked to do those menial tasks around the building. We shouldn't, have to be asked to pick up that piece of paper. We shouldn't have to be asked to help move the furniture or whatever it is. If you see something that needs to be done in your building, jump on it. Go ahead and do it. If there's a problem that you can solve for your building, go ahead and solve it. Now, I do want to kind of give this warning though. Stay in your lane. And you don't want to be the guy who goes and does something that's very clearly assigned to someone else, right? We're not talking about that. I'm not talking about be the know-it-all. I'm not talking about going and doing somebody else's job. There's a place to help there, but you don't want to be that guy who starts doing other people's assigned tasks unless you're asked to help with that, right? So, because then that's going to open up a whole other issue of things. But the Carl Frederick rule, right? Do things without being asked to do it. Always be working and kind of have that nobody's going to outwork me mindset. It'll go a long ways in your first years in AP.
Our third way to start the new year off right is to model excellence in all that you do, especially when you're giving presentations to your group or the people that you lead. Your tone and your mannerisms matter. They're going to be paying attention to that,
Yeah.
especially in this new year with all the things we're talking about with student safety. It's going to be huge.
Yep.
You've got to be positive. You've got to send the message that you believe in what you're putting out there. So positivity is big. You're the rep for this program or this idea, and if you can't be positive, why should they?
Yeah.
Secondly, model what you expect from teachers. So this goes back to showing people what you expect in the classroom. It's pretty easy. The things that you think are important, the things that you value in classroom teachers, you should be modeling for your teachers here. Model something that they can use. Maybe it's a classroom technique. Maybe it's a tip for classroom management. But give them a new tool for the tool belt.
For sure.
Learner-centered. Who wants to go to a boring PD session? Not this guy. I always thought, I can remember as teachers thinking, boy, I just want to be somewhere else and I want to get my work done.
I want to be in my classroom.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's what it's all
I
about.
can be in my classroom getting ready to go.
I can be ready to go for sure. Give some movement. Give some practice. I think that's a big thing that we forget about. You know, we give them all this information, but we never give them the opportunity just to practice at hand. And if it's real practice that they can utilize in the classroom right away, how big is that? And lastly, again, have a good time. I think that's going to be a theme as we go through all this. But if you're not having fun, they're not having fun.
For sure. And the fourth thing we want to talk about is get into classrooms early and often. And admittedly, my first year as an administrator, I did not do that. I did not do a good job of that. I kind of got caught up in the busyness.
Me too.
Right?
There's no question.
Of all the things, right? So challenge yourself. Give yourself a number. Maybe it's, I want to be in the first few weeks of school, I want to be in 20 classrooms a week or something. Give yourself a number and do your best to stick to that. But there's three things about getting into classrooms early and often that I think are super important. The first thing is, number one, it just gets people used to seeing administrators in their classroom. You should develop a level of comfort, right, with seeing administrators in classrooms. It builds trust. The more they see administrators in classrooms, it shouldn't be a big deal. Like, oh goodness, Mr. Phipps is walking into my classroom. I gotta put on a show.
Scared.
Yeah, I gotta. So it's that routine of this is just what we do. Right? He's an instructional leader. He's coming into my class because he wants to see the things that are happening. He wants to interact with my kids, and he wants to see what's going on and help us grow. We want to improve instruction. We want to improve achievement. We can only do that if we're in classrooms. Sure. Right? So get in classrooms early. Build that level of comfort with your teachers, that level of trust with your teachers. The other thing is, you want to celebrate the positive things that are going on, especially the first few weeks of school. There's nothing bad happening in classrooms in the first few weeks of school, right? Get in there and celebrate the positive as much as you can. And the last thing about that I want to say is make sure that you're giving feedback every time you go into a classroom.
It's big.
You shouldn't go into a classroom, observe, and leave, and just leave the teacher hanging going, what did I do? Right? How'd it go?
I've made that mistake as a young administrator for sure. For sure.
And it happens occasionally, right? You're going to get into a classroom, you're going to see something, and you're like, no, I'm going to go back to my office, I'm going to write them a note, and it's going to be great. And then something happens, somebody says bully, and you're doing an investigation, and you didn't get to send the note, right? My advice on that is and this is a practice that we have on our staff at our campus, that everybody just goes in with a letterhead pad, right? And we sit there in class, and I just try to make a habit of pick out one thing that I saw that was really awesome, and I just tell the teacher, like, hey, I really loved seeing the way you were scaffolding, questions, or I love seeing the way that you interacted with this. Those are the things that I leave, and it's amazing. I love at the end of the year, I walk through a bunch of classrooms, and those notes that our team that we were handing out the first few weeks of school, they're taped up there behind their desk. It's big, and it's a quick, easy way to get a quick, easy win. So get in classrooms early, build trust with your people, celebrate the positive things that are happening, and make sure you give them feedback every single time.
The best thing you said, Lute, I think, is probably having that something with you right then and there. Great tip.
Yeah.
The final point we have to make today is to build in time for reflection.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it might be the biggest thing that I do, and it's my favorite time of the week or month. I have both of them that I do in my calendar. I'm a morning guy, so I do it in the mornings, right? Lute's an afternoon guy, an evening guy. That's when he gets his creativity on. But for me, it's all about morning inspiration. So before I ever even look at my email, Once I look at my email, it's over. I'm in work time. But before I ever look at my email, I'm reading a blog and I'm writing a thank you note. And I think it's really important to be thankful the very first thing in the morning. It keeps me honest with myself. So, and here's the questions I ask after that. How am I going to serve someone else or make an impact today? What do I need to learn that I didn't know the day before? And finally, obviously, what are the things I need to get done today? Sure. For me, I have 3 big things, and that's it. And I celebrate those 3 things, right? Because things pop up every day. It gets busy. You have the bulletin report, like you talked about earlier. You have an incident that happens with a kid, and you have to get to them. But there's always more you can do. But boy, getting those 3 things done and marking those off my list is certainly a celebration. Final thing I'll leave you with is it's a marathon, not a sprint, right? Don't forget to eat the elephant with small bites.
So for me, Brett's a morning guy. He gets up and gets things going. I'm really at my best if I can get up in the mornings and get my day going. If I can get out and go work out and do some of those things. But there's only so much I can do in the morning, and everybody's routines are different. We've got a friend that he gets up at 4 o'clock in the morning and he goes and runs however long he runs. He's a campus administrator, he's a campus principal, and he's answering emails by 5 a.m. He clears his inbox at 5 o'clock in the morning so that when he gets to the building,
it's great.
And so that's just the way he works. I'm kind of like Brett. I don't like to touch my email until I've kind of gotten some things done and gotten some things out of the way. So for me, with reflection, what I'm going to try to do, I haven't been great at reflection. I'm just going to be honest. But the more we've talked about this, it's going to be something that I'm going to try to put into my routine. But I'm going to do it at the end of the day. I'm either going to do it at night before I go to bed, or I'm going to do it right before I leave the office. And I think what I'm going to try to capture in that is I'm trying to find ways to keep all the balls in the air. I'm trying to find ways to make sure that I follow through the next day on something that I might not have been prepared for today. So I'm really going to focus on 3 questions, and maybe this will help. Maybe this helps you think about how you're going to do your workflow for the day, right? But the 3 questions that I'm going to follow up with every day are going to be, what did I learn today? It's very similar to some of the things that Brett talked about. The next one is, what was I not prepared for today?
It's a good one.
Especially as a new administrator, because there are going to be a lot of those things.
For sure.
I mean, that's just the reality of it. And the third question that goes along with that, after I ask what was I not prepared for today, I'm going to ask myself and answer the question of, who do I need to reach out to for help tomorrow with whatever that thing was? I want to make sure that I have that answered so that I know, okay, tomorrow I've got a game plan. I'm going to go in and talk to this person about this thing so that I'll have an answer for how to handle it. And I think by going through that reflective process, it's really going to allow me to kind of accelerate my growth, but it's also going to help with not making the same mistake twice. Right? If I can kind of log that at the end of the day, it really helps not making the same mistake twice, because I think through it, and just that extra reflection is really going to help kind of solidify that learning.
It's the whole point, right?
Yeah, for sure. That kind of wraps up the 5 things that you can do as a new administrator to start your year off great. I told you at the beginning, if you stuck around to the end, that I was going to give you my favorite time-saving tip. So here it is.
It's a big one.
It's huge, and we both do it, and we've both been doing it I've been doing it for about 4 years now, and the amount of time it's going to save, it's simple, but the amount of time it's going to save is huge. You're going to get to a point during the year where you're going to feel like you're sending the same email response over and over. People are going to ask you the same question over and over and over. And it doesn't really matter what it's about, but it's just going to happen. I see it in, I send out emails to set up meetings with my teachers at the beginning of the year, goal setting meetings, or end of the year summative conference meetings. It's the same email. I just have to send it to 15, 20, 30 different people, right? Or you're going to get the parent who's going to email you and ask, hey, Billy's going on a college visit. How do we take care of that attendance? And you're going to get that email 30 times this year. I take a lot of time when I write an email because I want to make sure that the tone is right. I don't ever want to come off the wrong way. So I make sure that the tone is right. I make sure there are no typos because I want to be super professional in what I do there. So to write one email the right way takes a long time. So here's the trick. It's super simple. The first time you write, or the first time you realize that you're in a pattern of writing the same email over and over and over again, as soon as you realize it, copy that email. And if you're working in Outlook, so I use Outlook, right? If you're using Outlook on your desktop, You can go to the signatures tab. That email that you just copied, you can create as many different signatures as you want in Outlook. You create a new signature, and the great thing about signatures in Outlook is you can put as much in that box as you want to. So what I'll do is, once I realize I'm sending the same email over and over and over again, I copy that email and I create a new signature and paste the entire email in the signature box. And then I label it, I name the signature whatever the email is, right? So college visit attendance question, that's the name of the signature. So when Billy's mom emails me the next time that he's going on a college visit and asks me what that process looks like, I just hit reply, I change the signature to college visit attendance email, and it populates the whole email in there. And then I may have to go tweak it a little bit, right? Sure. Put Billy's name in there and, right, dear Mrs., whoever. But other than that, the information that they're asking is there, it's ready to go. And I just save myself 5 minutes. Easy. And not having to retype that whole email. And think about all the different email responses that you're going to have to use over the course of the year. I mean, I've got a ton of these signatures. And if it's something that I use from year to year to year, I'll just update that little bit of information. I just learned this. So your district may not be an Outlook district. Your district may be a Google district where you have to use Gmail. I actually think the Gmail version is better. And we literally just figured this out today. My wife works in a Google district, and she showed me this because I was talking about this thing that I do. She's like, oh, I do that all the time. In Gmail, there's a templates feature. So you can use that. It's a great way to save a ton of time.
Oh, it's so great.
It's amazing to me that, and we've been doing it for 4 or 5 years, and every time I talk to other administrators, that's the one thing that everybody wants to know how to save time because there's not enough of it. And that's the one thing I always go back with. And it's amazing to me how many people are like, holy cow, I had no idea. So anyways, try the signatures thing. And I was going to ask if you guys would like, put it in the comments down below that if you would like me to, I can go in and do a screencast of me doing that and setting that up so that you can see it. So if that's something you're interested in, let us know in the comments and I can probably make that happen. And I can probably show you how to do it in Outlook and in Gmail so that you guys can have it both ways. If that's something you're interested in, if you're not, then I'm not going to spend the time to do it. But if you are, we'll make it happen for you.
Well, that's all we have.
That's it.
I think it was a fun episode. I hope you found something that will start your year off right. If you liked it, tap the like button and subscribe. That'll help get it to more people.
For sure. And we'll see you next time.